Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Storyist. Today, I will be telling you the story of a girl who loved a boy, but her efforts were never appreciated. Only after a tragic incident did he realize how much he loved and needed her. But then it was too late. Stay until the end of the video to know what happened to the young girl and the boy who had taken her for granted. Leah is a young, beautiful woman who studies arts in a fine school. She landed a scholarship there during high school, and now she has to work for her allowance and other school expenses. She is her family's breadwinner. Her father is a construction worker, and all of her 6 siblings. Leah is the only one old enough to help with the family expenses. She works part-time as a waitress in a food chain, and sometimes does extra hours as a massage therapist in a spa during the weekends. She barely has any sleep, but it's completely fine with her. Working 2 shifts just for her family to get by and her education to progress is something she's very proud of and not embarrassed about. She is perfectly fine with her life having only enough, until one day she meets a handsome boy at an event in her school. Justin is a guitarist in a band that plays in her school. He is fine and smart-looking. As a beautiful young girl, Leah catches Justin's attention as soon as he sees her from the stage. Leah is doing a job at the school, that time as a cleaner, an extra job she accepts every now and then so she can buy books for her studies. After a few songs in the event, Justin approaches her and asks her out. "You're the most beautiful lady I have ever laid my eyes on," he says, making her blush. Justin has the reputation of being a heartbreaker in their school, as he courts and dates countless girls every time his band plays for their school events. Flattered by the attention of a famous band member, she agrees, and the two start dating. 1 cup of coffee turns into a lunch date outside Leah's university. A simple, friendly lunch turns into dinner. And a dinner date turns into an everyday conversation and holding hands. The relationship is close to perfect, and Justin studies music at a nearby school, and every now and then he will fetch Leah from her school and take her to dates. He will surprise her with flowers and will give her fancy gifts. Leah feels like she has everything she needs: a loving father, straight A's in her report card, and a sweet boyfriend. That is, until after their seemingly perfect relationship starts going downhill. Leah cannot understand why Justin is starting to slip away, little by little. From his daily surprises and fancy gifts, he now only catches up with her once a week. His surprise dates turn into cold coffee meetups, and their everyday conversation turns to a simple hello and good night. When Leah starts feeling their growing distance, she tries to save it by proposing for them to live together. Justin dislikes the idea at first, but realizing he'll have someone to share with his rent, he accepts her offer. Soon, the couple moves into a bigger apartment, and they decide to share rent. Leah continues working to provide for her family, and now for her new life with her boyfriend as well. But Justin is unemployed, and he uses most of Leah's money to buy things he doesn't really need. At first, he says he's using the money to buy books. But just after a few months upon moving together, Justin starts wasting too much of her hard-earned money in drinking and gambling. He'll buy cans of beer and ask her to pay for it. Every time he gets together with his band, he will ask for money and treat his whole band with beer. Now, Leah has to work 3 shifts just to provide enough. As a result, she can barely have a few hours of sleep every day and cannot even eat on time. She sacrifices her budget for food as well, so sometimes she just consumes water for lunch. As a result of too many work shifts, her grades started falling down. From straight A's, she sometimes gets C's and incomplete grades. Sometimes she cannot complete her assignments because Justin will go home drunk and she has to take care of him first. She doesn't get enough free time in her jobs as well, and so her schooling is compromised. One night, Leah decides to confront him about getting a job, so she doesn't need to shoulder everything in their home. But Justin defends himself, saying his band is creating songs, and that when their album sells out, he will give her the life she deserves. Leah loves him enough to believe him, and she starts helping him with the band arrangements. Sometimes, when the band has no money to rent for studios, she will lend them her savings just so they can practice. All of the band members are grateful for her, except Justin. He takes this as his advantage to waste more of her money by buying more beer and cheating on her. Some nights, Leah will wait for him to come home, falling asleep on the couch while he dances with other girls at parties. Leah's studies are now at a dark edge. She barely has time for her studies, and she can't even attend school anymore. Her priorities start to change. The fine, beautiful young girl is now gone. Her glowing face becomes dull and lifeless. Her then glistening eyes become a doorway to peek on her suffering soul. Her smiles vanish. Now she is as pale and thin as ever, with huge dark circles under her eyes. Kids in the street often call her Zombie or the Walking Dead. But she never minds them. The only important thing for her is to make Justin happy. But Justin will often look at her in disgust, criticizing her for her looks. He'll tell her she's ugly and that his friends at the parties he goes to are way prettier than her because they wear makeup. One day, Justin comes home from a club smelling like beer and cigarettes. He looks for Leah, but she is nowhere to be found. When he goes into the kitchen, he sees Leah's lifeless body lying on the floor. She looks pale and sick. He panics and promptly brings her to the hospital. But as soon as they arrive, the doctor tells him that Leah is completely gone. The doctor tells him that Leah has been battling with leukemia and that she never told him because she didn't want Justin to leave her. All the lack of sleep and improper meals she had before caused her sickness. Justin cries hard, gripping Leah into a tight hug. He looks at his girlfriend's pale face, and for the first time after they moved in together, he sees how beautiful she really is. He remembers that it is the thing he actually liked about her when he first saw her from that stage, that she is plainly and simply beautiful, even without makeup, that she didn't need to dress in fancy clothes just to look elegant, that she didn't need to beg for people's attention, because she could capture it, even by simply smiling. Justin realizes he loves Leah more than he had told her, and he is heartbroken. After Leah's burial, he goes back to his home and sees an envelope above the fridge. He opens it, and his eyes widen as he sees a bulk of cash inside. Within the envelope is a letter, and it reads, "My love, I have been saving for a bigger studio for your band practice. Here's the money. I wanted to surprise you last night, but you didn't come home. Go, get your dreams." Justin cries as he takes out the money and returns it to Leah's family. The family promises to use it to open a business so they wouldn't have to be poor again. And that's how the story ends. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you in the next videos.